Hello fashion people, so this is the style inspiration for the dress we're going to be cutting or sewing because of this video. Style inspiration because we're going to be creating the upper bodies with the sleeve, but lower bodies are going to make an alteration to that. So this is what we created. So this is upper bodies with the sleeve is also long sleeve, but the lower part has a gathers effect. So for the pattern drafting, I'm going to be drafting the front bodies at one side, and for the other end is going to be the back, and that's my starting point line. From the starting point line, I'm going to be marking my shoulder slope, which is 1.5 inches. So I did the same and I adjusted it all through, both for the front and for the back bodies. And then I'll root my starting point line by the sides. So that is going to be the starting point line for the back, and the other side is going to be for the front. So I'm going to be marking my neck width and neck depth of 3 by 1 for this is the back. So because I'm going to be using a shoulder dart for that, so I'm going to be minusing the difference between my front half length and the back half length. What I have there is 1 inches. So because it's 1 inches only, so I'm going to be starting from a starting point line. As when I have 3 inches or 2.5 inches as my difference, I'm going to take out half inch from the upper bodies. That means I'm going to minus 0.5 inches from the starting point line of the neck. And that means the neck is going to go downwards. That means I'm going to be taking the extra 2 inches left after subtracting it at the waist area. So I went ahead to mark my shoulder divided by 2. You know it's 3 inches from my neck width, and then I tilted my tape slightly to at the shoulder slope to get the remaining part of the measurement. And to that I'm going to be adding half inch, which is going to be the shoulder dart. And to this I'm going to connect it to the tip of my neck width. So now I'm going to be getting my armhole. My armhole starting from the shoulder slope, that place that is SL, is going to be my bust divided by 6 plus 2 inches. You can do bust divided by 6 plus 1.5, it's also fine. Then I'm going to be getting my across back, and to that I'm going to get in the midpoint of between the shoulder slope line and the bust line, and that's going to be XB, meaning my cross back. To get my cross back, if you don't have the measurement, it's going to be your shoulder minus 1 divided by 2 inches. Minus 1 from your shoulder divided by 2, that's going to give you a cross back. This is going to help us to have our armhole curve, get a perfect armhole curve. And that I took it all the way and I connected it to have a straight line. And then to get my armhole curve, I'm going to be dividing my bust by 4. Bust 42 divided by 4 will give me 10.5. I marked my bust second measurement, and then I'm connecting my curve to get my armhole curve all the way to the tip and then all the way to the armhole curve. Then blend out the pointy edge. So now I'm going to continue with the rest of the measurement. So for my shoulder, the from the neck width to the main part of the shoulder, mark divided by 2 to have the midpoint. And then because the added half inch to the as extension to my shoulder slope, half inch divided by 2 is going to be 0.25. So make 0.25 and then make the shoulder dart to be extended by 3 inches and then connect them together. So first of all, I'm going to be marking the half length of the front, and then after which I'm going to be marking the half length of the back. So the half length of the front is 17.5 inches. I connected them together and then I marked the 16.5 inches, which is the back half length, as you can see. Get. So then I'm going to start by placing my bust span. The bust span divided by 2 inches. So because I is the center back, I don't like want it to be too close to the center back, so I used to add 0.5 inches my bust span divided by 2 just for the back alone. Then I'll connect it and then I'll come down by 1 inch from the armhole line. So I took 0.5 inches on both sides of the dart line and I connected it to the tip. So I'm going to be placing the waist measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches. 1 inch for the dart and 1 inch is going to be for the shoulder stool, which I'm going to take it out later. Then I'm going to go up by 1 inch, which is the difference between the front half length and the back half length. So I went ahead to redraw my dart, which is half inches on both sides, and I connected it to the tip. And then I'm going to be connecting the waist circumference to the bust circumference, you get, with a straight line. And from the center back, I'm going to take out 1 inch, which is the remaining 1 inch for my should back slope, and this is it. So I went ahead to label my pattern. It's going to be on that grid, and then it's going to be 2 pieces for one side, you get. So I'm going to measure from one dart leg of the shoulder to the tip, we get, and what I have here is 2.1 inches. I wrote it down, and that's going to be used for the front. So I had to mark 3 by 3 inches, which is the basic neck width and depth for the front bodies. I marked 3 by 3 and I connected them together. So I'll go ahead to complete my shoulder divided by 2 inches from the tip we get. So after connecting my neck my neck curve, and then my shoulder divided by 2, and then I'm going to be tilting my tape slightly from that 3 inches to touch the shoulder slope with the exact measurement of my shoulder divided by 2. Then I'm going to be extending that line by 3 inches. Okay, that's going to be for my shoulder slope, my shoulder dart. And then I'm going to be placing my armhole, which is the bust divided by 6 plus 2 inches, or bust divided by 6 plus 1.5, depending on which one you want. 1.5 is fine, plus 2 is also fine. And then I'm going to measure that, and I'll connect my lines together. This is going to be my bust line or my armhole line. And then I went ahead to measure my bust point, my under bust, and the half length of my front. I repeated the measurement to able to get a straight line. And then I connected my dots together, and then I went ahead to label UB under bust, through bust line or bust point, and then by half length. So then I'm going to measure my bust span. My bust span divided by 2. I'm going to be placing that all the way to the bust point, and I'll connect it with a straight line. And then I'm going to go down by 1 inch, and I'll place my darts of 0.5 inches on both sides. I connect to the 1 inch I came down by. And then to be able to get my shoulder dart, remember the from the back, they measure from one dart leg to the other. So that measurement of 2.1, I'm going to measure from the tip of the shoulder to 2.1, and from the ending of the shoulder to 2.1, and in the middle there is going to be 3 inches when you measure it out. And then you're going to connect it to the bust point line. And then forget my chest line and my cross front, I'm going to go by 2 inches from my bust line. So that is my XF across front or chest line, which is 2 inches above my bust line. So to get your across front measurement, it's going to be your shoulder minus 2 divided by 2 inches. Assuming you do not measure it on your client, but this works perfectly fine for all sizes. And then you're going to measure it and stop at the first dart leg. Lift up your tape measure and continue for the second dart leg of the shoulder that I extended to the across front, and complete your measurement. Then you see the way I connected it. So that is it. So this is going to help us to get our armhole curve. So my bust divided by 4 inches, this is it. I'm going to be placing that measurement at my bust measurement, my bust line measurement, at my bust line, I mean to say. Then I'll connect to get my armhole curve from the tip to the across front, and then from the across front I'll now curve it to touch my bust line. So this is how to get the perfect armhole curve if you're working with a shoulder dart. So perfect. Then we continue with your measurement. So for the waistline, I'm going to be dividing my waist by 4, and this is it. I'm going to be adding 2 inches to that. I'm going to take out the 2 inches. So 1 inch is for the dart leg, and an extra 1 inch I'm going to be adding from the second dart leg. As you can see, I send it out by 1 inch, so giving it 2 inches. So then I have 2 inches. So my waist divided by 4 plus 2 inches. I'm going to be place that measurement at my waist measurement, and then I'll connect it with a straight line. So remember, for the side back I went up by 1 inch. That is the difference you get. So that 1 inch I went up by, I'm going to also repeat it for the side front, so that they can be equal. So that 1 inch I'm going to be connecting it to the extension of 1 inch. Just look at how I'm going to be connecting it. That's self-explanatory, so not to confuse us. So I'll just connect it to that extension of 1 inch you get. That's making 2 inch for our that are the waist measurement. So I went ahead to label it. My center front is going to be cut on fold, and that is my side front. And now to do my under bust tightening, my under bust divided by 4, what I got there. So I measured this from the first dart, from the center front to the first dart leg. I lifted my tape again. From the second dart leg, I completed the measurement, and then I marked it. The difference I have from the under bust to the remaining excess you get, I'm going to be sharing it at that area, as you can see. So for distribution, the center front area is going to be short, smaller distribution, and then for the side is going to be more you get. And then I connected it to the bust point line. I hope the video is very self-explanatory. If you have any questions, don't forget to drop it in the comment section. I'll be there to attend to you. And don't forget to give this video a like, thumbs up, and comment and share you get. So this is it. So to get a perfect blend at my shoulder, I'm going to be folding this in, and then I'm going to be folding in my shoulder dart you get. So to make it easier, just fold the bust points line, and then to make it easier for you to fold in your shoulder dart, so you can see what you have when you take out the shoulder dart you get. So when you fold it in, you find out that the shoulder needs an adjustment. It's not really straight. So from the one point to the other, I'm going to connect it with a straight line. And because the paper is on fold, if you have a tracing wheel, you can use a tracing wheel to trace it so that what you have there can be under, or else you can use your scissors just as I'm doing this video and transfer it under. And then you open up your pattern and then connect your line. This make it when you cut your pattern, the size is going to align, you get, because I already done the mashing up on your pattern. So this is it. And then the next is going to be the alteration for the design, especially at the shoulder area. So I want her to fold in my dart again, and I marked how wide I want the shoulder to be. After marking it, then I'm going to measure how deep I want it to be at the center front, because a sweetheart neckline, but the shoulder part has a little bit of a curve, it's not really straight while meeting the shoulder, the sweetheart neckline. So I designed my armhole, I mean to say my neck design. I designed it just as it is on our style inspiration, and I opened it up. So this is what I have. So when I cut out my shoulder dart, everything is going to match up perfectly, you get. So that's my measurement. I'm going to place it. First of all, I need to take out the shoulder dart for the back, which is half inch. I took it out. And the same distance I have for the front, I measure this at the backs, make sure it's the same so that the shoulders can align, and then alter the neck depth of the back as well. So I'm using my red marker to make it obvious what I'm going to be working with. So this is what I'm going to be using. This is what I'm going to be cutting out while cutting it out to get. So this is what I have, and I went ahead to measure it, to label it, and draw my grid line for cutting fabric, you get. So this is what we have. So I'm going to take out the waist dart for the back, which is 1 inch. I took it from the away from the side, and I use my red marker to indicate that that is our new side back. So here I went ahead to take away my gaping dart, and I used my tape to hold it down and connected my curve. And then at the shoulder again, I reduced it by 0.5 inches. As you can see, just at the shoulder area, you get at the neck side, just by half of an inch, and blend it to the tip and cut it out. This is also how after I'm done cutting it out on fabric. I used 2.5 inches allowance for the side front, and the center front is on fold, and other area was 0.5 inches. For the center back, I used 1.5 inches sewing allowance, and the side back is 2.5 inches, and all around it is 0.5 inches. This is what I have. I cut it out both the lining and the main fabric, and I'm going to be using a wording, semi-done stay wording. So I'm going to doubling it up, and that's what I'm going to be using for padding the bust area, you get. And I added a fusible interfacing to the main fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and place this, and you can, if you're a beginner, you can just first of all run a stitch on it just to hold them together before you start joining center front to the side front to make it easier for you, you get. So this is it. I went ahead to, because I doubled the lining, I need to make it to be stable, you get. I use my visible interface and place it by the side, and I use my iron to press it down to make it to be one piece, you get, so that it will not be folding inside of the clothes. And after that, I'm going to go ahead to sew it to the center back. This is what I have. That I'm done sewing it, and I press out my seams. I put the same thing for the lining, and then I'm going to be turning the neck area with the lining as well as the side. And then for the back bodice, I'm going to be turning the neck area by 0.5 inches, and then I'm going to be joining it to the front, while I also turn every other area, you get. This is what I have for the front after sewing it and turning it. And so I added Rogelin boning to give it more structure, because this is for a busty person. It was 42 I'm working with, you get. And then I'm going to be flipping, turning the shoulder, just open up the lining for this of the back piece, and they use it to cover it up and sew it down by half of an inch. After sewing it, it's going to hide the rough edge, you get. You can see what I did here. And I'm going to blend the same thing for the other side, you get. So after sewing, this is what I have. That's the side, and that the other side was the zipper allowance. I turned it by half of an inch, and I'm going to go ahead to give it a good press, you get. So over to the sleeve area. So this is the lining piece, and while cutting the lining piece and the main fabric, I added 1.5 inches to the actual length of the sleeve, you get, and I gave it a notch on the main fabric. And then for the lining piece, I'm going to return the lining piece by 1 inch. That means I have half inch to sew it to the main fabric at the wrist area. So I reduce it by by 1 inch, and then I'm going to use it to turn my sleeve. You get, I'm going to place it right side facing each other, the main fabric and the lining, and I'm going to be sewing the hem by 1/2 of an inch, and then I'm going to use that notch I gave at the main piece. You can see the notch, and I'm going to fold it just as like this, and I'm going to sew the side by 1/2 of an inch to turn it to the right side. I repeat the same thing for the other sleeve, and after ironing it, this is what I have. So I'm going to go ahead to attach the sleeve to the upper bodice, to the armhole by 1/2 of an inch, and I'll do the same thing for the two sides. So after attaching my sleeve, I went ahead to weave the armhole area, and then I'm going to be shaping my upper bodice by the remaining allowance I have, which is 2 inches. And this is what I have after shaping it. And so I went ahead to measure the round waist area. I was using this to cut the lower bodice. So because for star inspiration it's 720-degree flip for the lower part, I'm going to show you how to do it. All you need to do is to fold your fabric into four, fold it into two, and then fold it again, making it fold it into four. And then your waist measurement divided by 6.28, and measure it round from the tip, just as you see me do before. And then from that, you're going to measure the full length. You get, and this is measuring the full length. This is going to be the full length, and the upper part is going to be the round waist. Since I'm not using that, I'm going to be using gathers. I'm going to have to open it up, and I folded it into my fabric into two to make it easier for me to cut. You get, and then I'm going to be measuring. I want it to be 32 inches length from the half length. So plus 1 inch folding allowance, that's the hem, and plus ½ inch for joining to the waist area, making it total of 33 inches. You get. So I went ahead to measure 33 inches all the way, and I connected my dot, and I went ahead to cut it out. So the length of the lining I'm working with is 22 inches. So I went ahead to cut it out, and this is for my lining. So I went ahead to fold the down edge by 1/2 of an inch after I've done weaving it. And for the upper part, I covered up the part where I joined two pieces of fabric together. I gave it a big pleat. You can see this place I joined it together, so I gave it a good pleat, a big pleat, just to cover up that joining area. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my gather stitch on top of it. So then after sewing a loose stitch, I went ahead to pull my string, just one thread, to create a gathers, and I repeat the same thing for the lining piece as well. So I go ahead and do my gathers, gather it to be equal to the waist circumference. So while pulling the thread, just be careful so that the thread will not cut, so they don't have to start afresh. So just gather it to be equal to the half length circumference, and then using my pin, I'll go ahead and pin it down all round to the other end, after which I'm going to be sewing it by 1/2 of an inch. Remember what we added to the same allowance of the waist area is 1/2 inches. So I want ahead to sew it by 1/2 of an inch, and then I'll bring the lining piece, place the lining piece on top with the wrong side facing me, and I'll also use my pin to hold it down so that I can use it to cover up the rough edge at the waist area. This is what I have after I'm done sewing, attaching the lining piece. You can see the inner is looking neat, and then I'm going to place the right side facing each other, and then I'm going to mark where I want my zipper to stop, and the remaining parts of the gown I will join them together by half of an inch. I mean by 1 inch. No, 1 inch what is left, and then I attach my zipper to the upper part. This is how it looks after I'm done sewing it. So this is how the upper part is, this is how the lower part is. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, join the community, and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, stay fabulous. Also, don't forget to drop your question in the comment section. I reply to all my questions. Bye bye.